I'm Sarah. Thanks for volunteering to lead your child's big backyard walk this spring at Estabrook School. I'm going to show you where the walk is going to take place and talk a bit more about what the content of the walk is. But before we do that, I wanted to do some logistical nuts and bolts. The first thing is, here we are at the entrance of Estabrook School. On the day of the walk, when you come in to lead the walk, you're going to come over here to this carousel and take out something that says grade, your child's grade and spring walk, and on it there will be the questions that you'll talk with the students on the way out of the school, on the way back in, and there will be a map showing where all of the different stations of the walk are located to help orient you once you get outside. So make sure to pick up one of these when you come in, and please do return it when you come back in from the walk so that the other students' classes, parents can also use it. Thanks. The other very important thing to do when you arrive to lead your child's walk is to come sign in here at the front desk of the school as a volunteer. And there's a sign-in computer and you get a label. After you do that, just head right on up to your child's classroom. You'll meet the students and the teachers there. The teacher will give you your group of children and you'll head out on the walk from there. For the grade 1 spring walk, you're going to take the students from the classroom and head out here to the back of the school. This is the rear exit from Estabrook School. The walk is going to be located out in the meadow, so what you'll do is walk out this back door, through the driveway, and out to the meadow area. So I'll meet you out there to show you the stations in just a minute. You've made it up here from the back of the school and walked up the driveway and right up here to the meadow and the cart path. This is where we're going to have our 5 stations for the first grade spring big backyard walk. The first spot I want to direct you to is right over here by the sign for the meadow. This is not an activity station. This is just a station to pick up. Each group can come take one bug box. It's a little plastic box. The top has a magnifier. Each group can take one out for the whole walk. Just make sure you return it at the end. If you find any fun bugs that the kids want to look at more closely, you can gently scoop it up in, and the kids can take turns gently looking at the insect and then release them after. So feel free to take one for the duration of the walk, and then please do return it to this bag at the end. There are, as I said, 5 stations on this walk. There is one down the cart path in the forest area, one to my right here down the meadow. You can sort of see the pole and the sheet and some pink flagging hanging in the breeze. From year to year, these spots may move around a bit, but this is the gist of where they'll be. And then there's one station right here just beyond the supplies post. Another one farther down the path into the meadow. And in the distance, you can see some pink flagging. That's the 5th one, just down around the bend. I'm going to take you now to go look at each one of those and talk about what will be at each one. The focus of this walk overall is on how spring life is different than the students encountered in this area in fall and winter, talking about what animals in particular need to survive in this environment, what they use in the meadows versus in the forest, and a focus on birds. Here we are at the Robin's Eyes station. This is a really fun station. It's one of my favorites. At this station, where you can see there's a picture of a bird and a worm, and there's a supplies bag. Inside the supplies bag, we have what we call Robin's eyes. Robins' eyes are on the sides of their heads, so their perception of the world and what they can see is very different than ours with our eyes on the front of our head. These robins' eyes, cups attached to a popsicle stick, maybe a little delicate, so have the kids be gentle with them if they can. The idea with them is that the students can put them on and get an idea of what the world looks like for a robin and how would a robin behave in order to find its food. So there's some list of activities to do using these robin's eyes on the sheet. You can read them when you're out here. They're very easy and straightforward. There's also a bag with little pieces of yarn cut in them. We're calling these yarn worms. These are the worms that our student robins will be hunting for on the ground. So your job, as described on the sheet, will be to distribute the yarn worms on the ground, and the students will be going collecting worms. So now we're at the second station. These stations do not have to be done in any particular order. There's no logical sequence to it. Each one has its own discrete information, but just to keep track of 1 through 5, this is number 2. This one is about meadow life, which is why we're standing farther out into the meadow. We don't really want to have the students walking deeply into the meadow for concern about ticks on their clothing, but there's a nice mowed area here right next to the meadow, and students can sit and look. A lot of what they're going to want to see with insects and bird observation and looking for flowers is best done by sitting quietly if possible for a few minutes, and it can take a while just to notice what's there, and also the more still and quiet the students can be, the more likely insects are to come by. And the focus of this station is to think about what are the habitat resources for birds and insects and other small animals that are located here in the meadow, and especially what do we see now that wasn't here in the winter. There's in this supply bag a set of the popsicle sticks that each one lists the main habitat needs of animals. The students should be familiar with them, and as students call them out, you can hand them the popsicle sticks. It's mostly a focusing exercise. Might be helpful to get them to settle down to do that sitting and watching. On the station sheet, there are also suggestions of the different kinds of habitat resources, food, shelter, and other signs that animals have been eating that you can look for here in the meadow. In case the students are having a little trouble brainstorming more, you can refer to the sheet as well. So we're at the third station. This is the birdsong station. We have walked around the bend of the meadow, trying to get a little more distance from the noises of the schoolyard, and hopefully getting to hear a greater variety of bird calls while we're here. This is really a sitting, looking, and listening station. And there are a few different questions for you to ask the students to get them thinking about why are birds singing? What kinds of communication might they be trying to have through these calls? Talking about the birds having spent the winter away, those are the birds that we're hearing now are not all ones that were here all winter. Some of them are migratory birds that have come back. Why have they come back now? What's different about the season here? So we haven't yet reached the robin observation station, but there's a reason we've put it here near this area, is that we have often seen robins like this one out looking for food. We're going to head over to the station now and talk a little bit more about that. Here we are at the robin observation station along with comparing nests. And at the earlier station, the children themselves were pretending to be robins and imagining what robins would have to do to be able to find the food they're looking for on the ground. And as you saw, there should hopefully be robins around when the students are here watching. And the goal of the station is to get them to really take some time to watch the kinds of movements the robins are doing so they can see those things on the ground. And if there aren't robins here at the time that your group is at the station, which is possible, just have them think back on the ways they've seen robins hopping along the ground and turning their heads to look for it. You've probably seen it yourself. So just, if you don't have robins here at the time, just try to remember what you've seen. So what are the robins looking for, and talking about why it's helpful for robins to have eyes on the sides of their head instead of the front. We've already noticed that it's harder for them to see the ground in front of them. They have to turn their heads. The students will do that at the Robin's Eye Station, but there are benefits to having your eyes on the side of your head too. There's ideas about that on the sheet. You can discuss with the students, see what their ideas are first, and then help fill them in if they need some help. The other thing that we can do at this station is take some time looking at different kinds of nests. We have them in plastic containers. Please leave them in the containers. Please leave the containers closed. We'll be reusing these nests. We brought them here to show a variety of different materials that birds may use to build nests. This one is all natural materials. This one is got a little bit of blue plasticky paper that a bird decided to make use of. This one is from near a construction site and got some insulation from a house that was being built. So you can see more of it underneath. You can also pick up and feel this one is so much heavier. There's more soil into this one. So students can compare this variety of different nests that birds have made and think about the different materials that birds find and make use of. Other things birds can think about is, if you were a bird, which of these nests would you find to be the best home for you and why? And then some other questions about bird nests are on this sheet that you can have a discussion with the students. So here we are at our fifth and final station, and this one, as you can see, it's down the cart path. This is our forest life station. So it's really not very far from where the other 4 stations are, but it is a bit of a different habitat. There are different resources. Animals will use the space differently. And that's what the focus of this station is you may be able to find things like more squirrel or bird nests up in the trees. Students can look around for them, maybe woodpecker holes in some trunks. You may find holes in the ground from small mammals. You may also be able to find on these tree leaves, we may find some, in addition to holes from insect feeding, there may also be some gall starting to form on these oak leaves. There's on the station sheet, there are suggestions for all these types of food, signs of eating, and shelter that animals will let you know that they're here or what they're looking for. So that's what the focus of the station is. This is the final station for this walk. Again, you don't have to do these stations in any order in particular. Just make sure you get around to ideally all of them. If your students are having a great time at one and you end up missing out on another one, that's okay. My advice would be, do not miss the Robin's Eyes station, because that one is so much fun. But the main goal of this walk is to get students looking around, doing deep observation of what they see, what they already know of what animals need, asking questions and trying to figure out how to answer them. So thanks again for volunteering on this walk, and I hope you have a lot of fun.